cooking is intuitive. I'd rather have a palate and timing than a recipe, because at the end of the day, the food needs to taste good. A recipe is going to give you a guide. You follow a recipe, she can make it, I can make it, it's totally different. Somebody else can make it, it's totally horrible. Intuition is one of the things that you can't train, and you gotta be able to identify it.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you are new here, we bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you are a returning listener, thank you for spending this time with us. We do appreciate it. Well, I'm excited that you guys are here. Eating is one of my favorite things, and especially what you guys do, barbecue and meat. So I'm excited to get into that. Before that, though, I want to say thank you to Paris Baguette for sponsoring the show with the delicious pastries every week. Go check them out in the city of San Gabriel on Las Tunas and say hi to Jason for us. Okay, so if you're wondering about the type of food, right? If you're a listener of this show, if you're a fan of the show, you know that I'm primarily animal-based. I would say 90% of what me and my family eat are animal-based. And so learning how to cook all kinds of different cuts of the cow that I get, and I've shared that with you. I got like half a cow is something that I'm really into, but I'm excited to learn about their journey, not just their cooking, but what led them to develop what they do today. So we have Erika and Milton from Domestic BBQ. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited. So let's start with Domestic BBQ. So can you share with the listeners a little bit about the name? How did that come about?
It was an argument. That's the reality of it.
It's the truth.
We actually did a little bit of R&D. We were going back and forth on our name because our original location is in La Puente. So one of the biggest things as we R&D'd, we were wanting to go with the name Bullish. When you kind of look at bullish, it doesn't necessarily read as bullish, if you get what I mean. Right? Not as easy on the eyes. One of our biggest missions is really to be community-centered, right around having people from the community work with us, as well as our products and our sourcing, getting everything locally. So that's how we landed on the name Domestic. We just said it jokingly around. We're like, hey, let's just call it Domestic and call it a day.
Yeah, she was hell-bent on bullish, and we had already started the restaurant and kind of going back and forth. We asked customers and everybody that would, or potential customers, because we weren't open yet, but we're still already in that process.
In the building phase.
Right. And everybody that I put it up in front, they're like, oh, that says bullshit. And come to find out, it wasn't a great idea to name it that. So we transitioned, we started fighting, arguing, and we're like, you know what, let's just call it Domestic. Domestic, Harris Ranch beef, certain cuts that we get from purveyors that are local craft beer, which is a big part back when we opened, nothing outside of California, and then that's how we landed on it.
So you mentioned La Puente.
Yes.
So that's where your business is, but what is your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Well, for me, I've lived in the San Gabriel Valley 95% of my life, aside from a couple of years in the South Bay when I was older. Grew up here in Almani, off of Baldwin and Gibson. Went to Shropshire Elementary, Gidley Middle School, and then 8th grade, my family purchased a home in Baldwin Park, moved to Baldwin Park, went to Baldwin Park High School. So my entire life, I love the San Gabriel Valley. It's such an incredible, you can't cram so much in a city like they do here. It's incredible. It's just, to this day, I drive by every other month or whatever up and down these streets, and I see something new. It's so inviting. It's amazing.
And for me, it's a little bit different. I'm actually a transplant. So I grew up in a city called Bell, out in Los Angeles, inner city. And when Milton and I had our daughter, we purchased our first home in La Puente. So we uprooted and moved, not necessarily too far, but, you know, about 14 miles or so, and moved and purchased a home. And we raised our daughter there for the first six years of her life. And then after that, we're actually still San Gabriel Valley residents. We live in Covina now. So for me, it's a little bit different. Didn't grow up here. However, my mom did work out in this area. So I remember being a kid coming out here with her, you know, and just driving up and down, going to 99 Ranch.
You own 99 Ranch?
No, we would go because the dumplings.
Okay.
So I love getting the little dumplings, the gyozas. We would make them, just pan fry them and eat them with ketchup. So those are like memories that I have, and eating like red bean popsicles about the San Gabriel Valley. That's why when we moved out here, I was just like, oh, cool. It's different than growing up in the inner city, of course.
Yeah. I'm smiling because like those kinds of stories, like all my Mexican friends like eating, you know, pho and sushi, and all my Asian friends eating, you know, Mexican food, like it's just part of how we grew up. It's not like it's not like you grew up in a certain culture and then you went out to explore. It was just, you know, your backyard.
Right.
Exactly.
So Milton, back to you. So you grew up in the SGV,
right,
and you went to Baldwin Park. Baldwin Park High School.
Right.
Kind of guessing we're of similar age, and I remember like that area being a little bit tough. Like, growing up.
Almani was a little bit rough when I was a kid. We still had the don't stay out past the lights and stuff, but when we got to Baldwin Park, it was also still a little bit rough. Still same rules: come home early, and stay away from the bad crowds. Don't go to shopping centers. Don't do this. But you know, I never had any bad stories. You know, I think my brother probably a little bit more. My sisters are a little bit older than me. I'm the youngest in my family, but they did a great job of showing me the ropes, I guess, of how to get around the SGV, because, you know, we were latchkey kids, so we didn't have our parents, you know, driving us to school back and forth, all those things. We didn't have that luxury. We were just, you know, get home at this time, do this, make sure your brothers and sisters are okay, and then you're good to go. So,
what kind of kid were you?
I was a good kid. Yeah, no. I think my parents learned from everybody else, so they knew what to do with me. So, by the time I got to 8th grade, I was already pretty much sound in the sense of education, knew what I wanted to do, kind of didn't want to go crazy or anything. You know, I was adventurous. I loved where I grew up. We grew up in a dead-end street, Marshall. We had a tree house near the wash. We'd go up and down the wash, try to find stuff, you know, kind of like in the movies. We just paraded around the neighborhood, but it was just a couple blocks. It wasn't too big, but having all that around us, it was great because the sense of community that you get, it wasn't like 100% suburban, but it wasn't also 100% city. You know, it was a good blend. And like you mentioned, it's a melting pot. Like so many kids in that neighborhood, we played all day. We played football on concrete. We played baseball on concrete. It was great.
And I'm curious, how did you guys meet?
Oh.
At work.
We worked together at one point.
Okay.
Yes. So we actually both worked for a corporate company. And Milton and I met when we still debate this. I think it was 18, because I was 18 when I started working there.
I was 18 too, but
we knew each other. It was like a hi bye.
It's a big company, so
yeah. So it was a hi bye. Hey, how are you? And then it just developed slowly. Afterwards, we would go hang out, you know, shoot pool, and lo and behold, here we are. This is still debatable. 17 years later.
It's a lot less than that. A lot
less.
Yeah, 17, almost 14.
Okay, maybe 16.
So we have a made up anniversary. We don't remember when we actually. Yes.
Okay.
We don't remember.
We know the month.
September. That's all we know.
We just don't know.
We have key marks to help us.
So every time we get to September, like, so when's our anniversary? Whenever we can get time off, when we get a day off or something.
Interesting. Okay. So it sounds like you guys connected at the same job, right? What were you
Yes.
guys doing at that time? You were 18, 19?
So we worked for Coca-Cola. We were merchandisers actually at the time. And then both of us were up for promotion and we both became sales representatives. Later on, that's where like the high buy kind of happened as sales reps. We would go out into the areas, sell our product, do orders. And then when I received a promotion as a supervisor, Milton actually took over the route I used to monitor. So we did.
So that's where we really kind of got to know each other
Yeah.
because I took over her territory per se, and she had to show me who to talk to, all the connections, all that stuff, and
So
we
it was
spent
about a week, right?
A week of a ride along together, and that's how we really started talking more and more.
And more. And here we are now.
Yeah. And you guys had a girl,
We have a daughter.
We have
a
a
daughter. Then you guys moved to La Puente. And are you still working for Coca-Cola at that time?
No.
When we moved to La Puente,
I was. So I actually was working for Coca-Cola North America. I had the opportunity to really move up within the company, and I was doing headquarter calling. So my last role there is I was an account executive. I managed everything west of the Mississippi River for our target team. So I was based out of Egan, but I was a remote employee. Did that, probably had my remote job for about, I want to say even when we were in La Puente, I was probably a remote employee for about 8 years or so. Really enjoyed it. And, you know, during that whole time frame, that's actually when we opened the restaurant.
While you were
I was still
remote.
working and I was a remote employee.
Where did the idea come about? Well, actually, when we were talking, you said you were doing this barbecue stuff for friends and family on the weekends.
Backyard barbecue.
Always loved entertaining.
Exactly. So that's how it happened, just entertaining with family. My brother and I, we used to do like random catering jobs from his friends. So I would go help him as a kid. I mean, I say kid, but as a teenager. The whole cooking thing just kind of evolved out of her wanting to get back to work and me having the time to go to culinary school and just, chase something that I already cared about.
Milton kind of doesn't give himself enough credit. So I had postpartum. When I had my daughter, I got really bad postpartum depression. I ended up going back to work within 6 weeks. Milton actually quit his job at Coke and took care of our daughter full time. So it was one of those where it allowed the opportunity, kind of like, talk about milestone moments in your life. It was one of those where as unfortunate as it sounds, it was just something that he sacrificed his career to be able to kind of offset what my emotional state was at that moment. And that's when he started.
I think the pieces kind of fell into place because
Everything
she had
happens for a
already
reason.
reached a level at the company where I'm like, okay, well, if you want to go back to work right away, then go back to work right away. It's not a big deal. We're young. We can figure it out. So that's the step we took. And it was kind of a joke with her and I. Everything kind of happened out of either an argument or a joke because the culinary school thing, we were talking about it one day. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to culinary school next week. And I had literally applied and did all the steps. And she's like, okay, what time? And I'm like, I'm going to take the late shift, 6 to 9. She's like, that's fine.
I don't remember this conversation.
I'll be home by
the way. 5.
5. You're good. So one day she got home at 5. She's like, are you going to go to culinary school? I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do it. And I kind of like flaked on culinary school. And then, they kept calling me like, hey, you filled out the application. You were accepted, all these things. And finally I said, all right, I'm going to go. So I went almost 3 months later.
I remember coming home from work and being like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going
to
school.
It was great.
What?
So
I was
kind of
shocked.
And then, just finished that. And yeah, like she mentioned the postpartum thing and all that. And it wasn't a sacrifice. I think things kind of fell into where they needed to be at that moment. Even now, things kind of fall in. And I'm a strong believer in those scenarios. But the culinary school program really opened my eyes to the opportunities. So After culinary school, I started working at restaurants, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make a living like this, you know. Restaurants, when coming out of culinary school, you're making minimum wage. You know, you got very minimal hours. Even if especially if you're working at really good restaurants, they're not paying so much. They're giving you the education in the industry, and you know you're working there. So the process went, all right, culinary school, I'm good. I was working at a restaurant during culinary school, and then after that I got into better restaurants. And I'm like, it's not a viable scenario for me having a daughter and then Erika, you know, working. So one day jokingly, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go try to find a better job. She's like, okay, that's fine. Go find a better job. And I found a better job at a natural organic wholesaler and worked there for, what was it, like 2 years maybe?
I don't remember.
They got bought out. So the wholesaler gets bought out, and they're like, okay, you guys have a choice. Whether you guys want to stay here working for this wholesaler or you get transferred to Chicago because we're getting bought out by this big, huge company that's nationwide. They were regional.
And I remember at the time I had the opportunity to be able to go ahead and go to Cincinnati, because at that time, working for Coke, I was on the Kroger team. So I had the opportunity, Cincinnati, Chicago, and then there was one other place.
I remember the third one.
But it was something that we had talked about, because we're like, okay, we can
so
just...
now we have a clash, right? Like, obviously, she was making way more money than I was, but the opportunity to go to a new state for us enticed us both.
Yeah.
But then we're like, you know what? Why are we going to uproot our daughter from a program she's been in now, what, 2 years? Mm-hmm. Maybe 3? Maybe 4?
No, Emma was like 3.
3. And, you know, just we were terrified. So I'm like, okay, let's not do that. The company that bought us out offered retention bonuses to whoever stayed during the transition, a whole bunch of stuff. And then jokingly, another joke.
And this one was a joke. As we were driving on a Saturday morning.
I go, why don't we just open a restaurant? And she's all like, yeah, let's do it. And I looked at her, and I was kind of semi-serious, and she was kind of semi-serious. So like, why not?
We're young enough.
Can't be that hard, right? And sure enough, we're driving down. We're
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed at 27.
27, 28. And we're turning the corner around our block. We're trying to find coffee. We don't want to go to Starbucks because Starbucks is a monster, and we're just, let's support local coffee.
In our downtown area.
Yeah, we found a local coffee shop, but it was closed on a Saturday morning. So we're like, why is it closed? Coffee on a Saturday morning is perfect. So we did our research on that location, and lo and behold, it wasn't a coffee shop. They were trying to turn it into a coffee roaster, like a production place. And that night we got home, and I'm like, that would be great for us, you know? It's down the street from the house. It's small enough. If they have plumbing, restrooms, all that, that's a step ahead. So we did our research. Couldn't find any contact.
This was during the early days of Facebook.
Yeah.
That's how we were Facebook stalking,
so
as
I
we like to call it.
And then finally I clicked the Facebook link, and there was a phone number. Called the phone number, and I didn't get a call back. I got a voicemail. And I said, why don't you call him? You sound a lot less intimidating to me than me on the phone. And she's like, yeah, I'll do that. So she left them a voicemail. They called her back right away.
And it was a couple that were trying to open a coffee roaster as well. They never got a chance to open it because the regulations for air quality control were really different from what their potential production was. When we talked, they had been paying a lease for, I think it was 2 years. They were so interested in getting out of that lease. They were like, let's set up a meeting on Monday. This was on Saturday. All of this happened like literally Saturday. It just started snowballing. That Monday, we met up with them, and they were like, here's the owner's information. If you guys are willing to take over our lease, because we have 3 more years, please, by all means. For them, it was a sense of relief because they were able to go ahead and get out of a 5-year lease that they had signed. Jay connected us with Mr. Lee. We ended up meeting with Mr. Lee on Monday, and lo and behold, we signed it. mind you.
Not knowing what we were doing.
Yes.
I had opened, like prior to this, I had been on opening staff for restaurants. I'd never been on a construction setting. So
It was different. So the location did not have restrooms, did not have plumbing, did not have electrical. It was a shell. Complete shell with just the facade of a bar area that was drywall, and it was a couple of pieces of plywood.
And the electrical that they did have, because they had some really nice lights, it was all run with extension cords.
So
when we walked the space,
non-band tube.
And they did a really good job of hiding it, and they was working off of the light switch. So I'm like, okay, so there's electrical here. You know, they had one restroom, but
it wasn't complete.
It wasn't complete. It was just a toilet, no sink. So I'm like, okay, I can get somebody to put a sink in. I could fix that. And then the front was, manageable. In the back, obviously, I knew they didn't have a kitchen. But I'm like, oh my God, at least they have lighting. Everything's great. It's very inviting. You drive by, even now, when the sun is down, you're just like, I got to go there. It just draws you in. And that's what got us, right? So we signed the lease, and then we did our homework. We're like,
we kind of did a reverse effect.
We signed it in, I think it was February.
Yeah.
Got the keys, and then, I started doing my research and pricing things. We had a semi-budget, kind of, and dove into it. Just dove head first.
It was one of those things where we're like, let's just do it. Let's ask questions later. Let's figure it out. Not necessarily the best piece of advice when it comes to a restaurant.
Do not
there's
do that.
So many rules and regulations. But it's been one of the most exciting things that we've been able to do together, because it really was a journey, an adventure. It tested the waters. I think it actually strengthened our relationship because of all the opportunities that came with it. More than anything, it was the financial aspect of having to now build out a restaurant, something that we were responsible for paying. And it was a full-blown commitment. And it literally happened in less than 48 hours.
Yeah, the whole thing. I have a lot of bad ideas. And that one was a bad idea when, like, in hindsight. And she backed me up 100%. And it turned into something that we flipped, right? We made it happen. So keys in February, open in July.
And Milton's missing one big of the, part of the story. So a lot of the work we actually did.
Obviously, yeah.
We have family, friends. We contracted people to do the kitchen. But we sanded the floors. Milton broke his patellar right tendon while painting. He fell off a ladder. And
I was in a brace when we opened. I was still like hobbling around.
So it was definitely an adventure. When we tell everyone the story, they're like,
they don't really, because we don't. I mean, every piece, it's hard to put on. I mean, we could write a book, but putting everything that happened, you couldn't make it up.
Yeah.
Like, from not knowing every single detail that you needed I had to learn how to draft, like AutoCAD. I learned because I couldn't afford somebody to draw plans for me. I had to learn how to, small electrical stuff. And it was a wild ride. And it's helped us now, like 100%. So now when anybody comes to us and says, hey, I'm looking to open a restaurant, I go, it's a lot harder than you think because of this. And it gets really interesting because they always think we're trying to dissuade them from doing it. But I'm just saying, like, you got to think about your permits are going to cost you more than your building material is going to cost you at this point when it comes to electrical and plumbing. And a lot of those little things that nobody helped us with because we couldn't find anybody. It was, we attacked them ourselves, and it was just, okay, we're at another deadlock. We were 2 weeks from opening, and we had already invested so much money. And Eric and I we sat down, we're like, let's just chalk it up as a loss at this point because the city's not giving us the green light. Plan check's not giving us the green light. Like,
you're in a brace.
Yeah, I can't walk. I mean, let's just get rid of it.
It is what it is.
Let somebody come in, take it over, finish it. and maybe we get the money for the equipment. And she's like, all right, let's do it. And then the next day, we got greenlit for everything. We get a phone call from the city, which was one of the most difficult ones. They're like, all right, your inspector's going to be there tomorrow. He's going to sign off on everything. Okay, great. Then plan check. Oh, your plans are approved, all this stuff. Everything just kind of snowballed, like fell into our lap. So we got the approvals on a Thursday, and we opened on a Sunday. And I'm still in a brace. I have no staff. My sister is the only person that came to help us. So she was in the front. Erika was in the front. I'm in a brace. And we're serving, I don't know, maybe 60 guests that day. We were excited. We're like, yes, we did it. And we opened. So
I know. And here we are, close to 10 years later.
Yeah, 10-year anniversary in July.
That's quite a story.
It's
I'm
crazy
sure
when we
missed
think about
a bunch
it.
of stuff.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, like having to learn all that stuff and AutoCAD is no joke. Oh my gosh.
No. I spent, because I was still working at the wholesaler, I spent probably, I hope they're not watching this, but I spent like 30% of my shift every day just figuring out the commands and how to make a square and how to make
How to draw a
was
line or
insane.
broken line.
Because before that, we had an app or a program that was kind of like the IKEA program where you go. Actually, I think we went to IKEA.
No, that was for the house.
Oh. And I drew up a
We're
square.
do-it-yourselfers.
And once I got the like, because the La Puente location is not a square. It's not a it's a crazy shape.
Yeah.
And when I got that shape down, I was so excited. I think it took me like 3 days because it's to scale with every corner, every measurement, everything done. There's a sharp little thing where there's a planter and it's such a nightmare. But once I got that down, I was on top of the world. I told her, now all I got to do is draw squares for equipment, label them, put it on a table, and we're good. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure.
It sounds like there's so much more to opening a restaurant than like, oh, I want to share my food, right?
Yeah.
And like people have no clue. So there's that, right? Like you have to first have this knowledge of cooking and it has to be good. And then there's this running a restaurant part, right? Which you got training on before. And then there's the whole other side of
The construction part.
yeah. Wow.
That's
So
the
you-
most difficult part. I think the food is the thing that's in front of you, like what you want to highlight. But the most important part is everything behind it, because like the build out, you can find somebody to build it out for you, and there's always going to be something wrong. You can pay a company come out, design a restaurant for you. Once it gets on the ground, you're gonna be like, I don't want that there. I don't want that there. I don't want that there. But once your vision is in place, your food can shine, right? So that's the hardest part, the behind the scenes, behind the food, when you're bringing something to anywhere.
So as a coach, I often tell my clients like to figure out what your why is. And your why is a motivation towards, right? And motivation away is like, I don't want to experience this negative thing. And the motivation towards is, I do want to experience this positive thing. So you have to have a really powerful why to keep going through all that. What were you guys doing it for?
For me, I think we share the same one, is when we got to La Puente, it's a great city.
A very proud city.
Right.
People
And
from La Puente are proud to be from La Puente.
And they'll
it's
tell you that.
amazing.
And we
It's amazing
wanted
to see.
bring something to that city that was worthy of their devotion, you know? I mean, because they have a lot of spots. They've been there forever, and they're great, and we're just like, we want to add to that, because that city, it embraced us. Once they found out where we were, it embraced us. The community has been so helpful. Now we have a lot of connections where they tell us what's going on in the city. Hey, you guys should, come take part in this or do that. But that was our why, because we live there. We're residents. We were proud to be from there too, and bringing something unique and different. They have a lot of great Mexican food. They have a lot of great fast food, but bringing something 100% crafted, house crafted, special. You know, we wanted to do that. We wanted to be the ones to do it. And I think a testament being there 10 years, I think we accomplished that fact. Even post pandemic, we know we made it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The ability to persevere, not a lot of people have it, right? And you don't just acquire that. You don't just feel like, okay, now I'm going to do that. It's something like you sort of earn it, right? Through going through something difficult. Is there something in your life that you like sort of prepared you for this journey?
You know what? I think for myself and probably for Milton too, being kids of immigrants, you learn how to adapt, overcome, and really persevere. For myself, I remember being, 7 years old and being the translator for my mom because my mom didn't understand English and I would just translate from Spanish to English. So I think a lot of that was really instilled being a young child, having to overcome certain obstacles where your parents, you knew exactly what was going on financially because you would go to the bank. You would help pay, the rent or the mortgage. You would go to, back then they used to have the booths where you would go pay the water bill or the gas bill. I don't think they have those anymore, or at least I haven't seen them. It's all auto pay now. But I used to be that child that would go with my parent. And there were times where I would hear my mom and dad talk and they would just be like, hey, right now, financially, we're doing absolutely horrible. How do we get to, X, Y, and Z step? So I think being exposed to that as a young child really helped me be gritty in the sense of nothing's going to bring me down. I can overcome anything, especially being together. I really do feel that we can overcome any obstacle. Just because we're different people, Milton and I, but we have the same goal in mind. And ultimately for us, it's to leave a legacy for our daughter to know, hey, it's important. And this is kind of coming full circle, right? It's important to give back. It's important to make sure that you're kind, you're empathetic, you're caring, and especially that you do what you want to do and you go after your goals and you make your dreams come true. Because that's one of the really big things is I think being an inner city kid, I could have said, hey, you know what? I'm going to just, continue working right out of school, not bother going to school, not having a dream because it's not within my reach. Especially being the child of an immigrant, it's one of those where you don't have a lot of luxuries, a lot of opportunities. And it just wasn't something that I was willing to do. For me, it was like, oh, okay, I'm coming with my mom to the SGV. We used to go clean houses. And I would be like, oh, I want to live in this area because there was this beautiful home in Arcadia that was 2 stories. And, they had a grand piano on the bottom floor. I want to have a house like this. So for me, that's what actually drove it.
And it's that work ethic, right? I mean, we don't stop. We work 7 days a week, God knows how many hours. But,
we look at each other.
And like she mentioned, we get that from our parents. My dad, he worked for Vaughn's for 32 years. But after work, he'd go sell stuff on the streets. Here in El Monte, he'd go to the San Diego racetrack and sell in the stables. My mom worked at a leather manufacturing company. It's just seeing the work ethic from our parents, I think, really instilled it in us, and we don't stop. It's there's an obstacle, you're gonna work at it. That's how you get over that obstacle. It's not let's hope and pray or let's change the mode. No, you get over the obstacle, or the obstacle is gonna be. And we never had my dad and my mom would never say like, okay, just change this or do this. No, they said like, well, fix it, get over it, get through what you're going through, and then you'll be fine. And like she mentioned, like we were always alongside them as translators, as, like she said, going to the bank, doing all those things. And it's second nature already at this point. It's just not there's no option for failure. If you get to a point where you don't think you're going to make it, then get through that hurdle, whatever it takes.
I think I knew how to write a check when I was 10.
Yeah, I remember going to Montgomery Ward.
Oh
right
my
here in
gosh.
Rosemead, and paying a bill for my parents for like a TV or furniture. I don't remember what it was for. And then the lady's walking me through how to write out a check. The lady at the counter, she's all like, okay, and you have to do it in cursive, and you have to do this. And I'm just writing a check out. I think I was still in Shropshire. I think I was like 4th grade, 5th grade, and writing a check for my parents. But
Yeah.
You said Montgomery Ward. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Same.
it's my spot, man. It's gone now. I think there's a Target there now.
What were the, I wouldn't say hopes or dreams, but like, what did your parents drive you or want from you or want for you? You know, did they want you to go to school? Did they want you to work? A lot of times, from Latino guests here, they always share like the parents expect you to contribute to the family financially. That means like to work and contribute to the family. And then in other cultures, they expect them to do certain things. So what did your parents like want for you after high school?
Yeah, so for myself, I remember graduating high school and my mom, housekeeper, she had multiple homes that she would clean. She told me, hey, I'm going to gift you a house so that you can start off with one customer and then from there start building your clientele. And I tell Milton this story because for me, it's one of those where I'm like, I clean my house till this day. I, do the dishes. I do everything. I have no shame in doing anything. But I remember that was my mom's direct gift to me after high school was, hey, here's a house so you can start building your clientele. Because we have this conversation about our daughter and, our daughter is bent on here's where I want to go to school. This is what I want to do. And it's all driven by her. And I tell Milton, it's so different because for us, it was contribute to the household financially, make sure you help out. And we're looking at it from a different perspective with our daughter saying, hey, schooling's first, go to school. We'll do our best to help you, and we'll go from there. But for myself, it was contribute to the household, help pay the bills. And I just had a different setup on it where I ended up working directly out of school. But I started working for Coke and I started making really good money. I seen that there was opportunity. I went back to school. I actually earned my MBA. So I went into the executive side of it. It was a different path that I kind of built for myself. Not necessarily one that my family had seen for me. Now, though, you have a conversation with my mom, she'll tell me, why are you working at the restaurant? Why don't you go back to your corporate job? And she goes, you're on your feet all day. So it's a little bit funny in that sense, you know what I mean? But it was one of those where you were expected to help out, to pitch in. I know for you, it's a little bit different.
It was a little bit different. My parents told me, if you're going to school, then you don't have to have a job. If you don't go to school, you have to have a job. I did both. I had a job and I was going to school, and I got sidetracked. Like she said, we made a lot of money when we worked for Coca-Cola, and being under 21 and making that much money, we're just like, okay, I'm gonna stay around here. I love this company. I became a Coke fanatic, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, even till this day.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great company. They took care of us. Nothing to say bad about them. But that was my path. What instilled what I do now is it's a little bit different from Erika. Is as a kid, we never had like a day where my mom didn't cook dinner. So she cooked. Even when she got off work, she'd get home and she'd make dinner, and we all had dinner, home cooked meals. Fast food was out of the question. Frozen food or instant food was unheard of, and it was just because times were tough, right? It's cheaper to buy back then. Now it's the opposite, right? Fast food and instant food is cheaper, but back then produce and raw product was more affordable, so that's what we had at home. So we'd wait for my mom to come home and cook us dinner. We'd have dinner the next day, same thing. The next day, same thing. Special occasions, we'd go birthday parties, round table pizza. We'd go to that's probably the most special place we used to go to when we were kids. But
Was your mom like, oh, I want to try this restaurant? You're like, oh, I'll just make it at home and then like do the home version?
no, absolutely not. My mom was always just, no, my food is better. She had no idea about what the restaurant was. We'd say McDonald's. She'd be like, "Pfft, I got burgers for you right now. Like, don't worry about it. But the fries are better over there. Like, don't worry about the fries. Have another burger. My dad being a butcher, he would just, we'd have meat every day. So he'd, get prime cuts for us at home, and my mom would cook them up and go from there. But that's what instilled the love of food for me is never having to resort to having the fast food or the instant food. I remember going to my friend's house and having Kool-Aid for the first time, and because it was either milk or water, and my dad had beer, but we only had milk or water. Even to this day, Erika laughs because I drink so much water. When I went at dinner, I can't have something sweet with my dinner. I had to have water with it first, right? Just those little moments that we shared as a family is what kind of drove me into this industry.
We ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you guys bring with you today?
So I actually brought my knife, my first knife that I ever purchased. I still remember like it was yesterday, and I have it over there on the chair, but I'll definitely show.
I'll get it so you can show it here.
Awesome.
Let me get it.
I still remember like it was yesterday that we went.
It's a challenge, huh? It's one of those things.
Thank you. So this knife, I've now had it for 10 years. One of the funny things is I wanted to cook for a living growing up. We used to harvest a lot of our food. My dad was a landscaper, so we would grow a lot of our food at our house, and we used to watch Emerald. Bam!
No.
Kick it up a notch.
Yeah. So my dad was the cook at home. When we opened the restaurant, this was my first knife I ever purchased, like actual culinary knife. And we went to Japanese knife imports out on Beverly in LA. I remember purchasing it. I remember shaking it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have a real knife. A real knife, aside from, what comes in the butcher block that's at home that's not necessarily sharp. This is my workhorse. This is my baby. Right now, she isn't sharp. I need to go get her sharpened, but I carry her for luck. So every day when I get out, she actually comes down to the restaurant with me. I have other knives that I use that are kind of my workhorse, but this one is just more of a sentimental value because I remember still being at the knife shop and looking over, I looked at Milton and I'm like,
and
what
I
knife
told
do
her,
I
I'm
want?
not gonna. She kept asking me, which one should I get? And I'm like, it's the one that feels the best in your hand, the one that you're gonna control the best, the one that's gonna speak to you.
And it's funny because so all of my knives are Japanese steel. That's all I use. Kind of funny because usually Japanese steel is used more for sushi, and it's used for finer ingredients. Not necessarily I'm gonna butcher and fabricate meat all day, but this one just spoke to me. So there's something called Eastern and Western handles. I can't do a Eastern handle, which is just a straight handle.
It's like an octagon.
I actually have to have the backing. I don't put my finger around it when I cut, but just in my conscience, I'm like, oh, I need a backing for my finger. So all of mine are Western handles, but this was my first baby that I ever got. I remember not putting her back in her sheath when I got her, and I put her in the bag. It just fell straight through the bag. And I was just like, and that's how you chip your knife.
Did you chip the tip?
I did. And then I went back to go get it fixed. And they were like, back again?
So soon?
I know.
Awesome. Well, thank you for bringing that in.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
Like a full tang. Is it a French shape, right?
It's a gyotu.
Oh, okay. So this is like a heavier duty.
Yeah, it's a chef's knife, 100%
Yes.
Japanese chef's knife. Yeah, just
Awesome.
9-inch.
Yeah.
Yes. So workhorse. That's my workhorse.
A lot of people don't realize the knives, the sharpness is how long the metal can retain the edge, because you can get a cheap knife sharp
Super
for
sharp.
2 seconds.
Right.
Yes.
One cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, awesome. Thank you for bringing that in and
Thank
sharing
you.
that. And Milton, what did you bring with you?
I actually brought the key to the first lock at our first restaurant in La Puente.
Okay.
The door doesn't exist anymore because it was this massive, just wooden. So the restaurant used to be, before we took it over, it was 2 units in the 1930s. And cinder block building.
No insulation.
No insulation. Somebody, when they took it over, the gentleman that were making it a coffee roaster, they turned it into 1 unit. So there's a side door and there's a front door. That front door was so heavy. It was just wood, but it was the closing mechanism. This key actually opened the lock on it. And the reason we changed it out was because the door was just, customers would come in, they unlocked, they couldn't open. It was just so heavy, too much pressure.
And it would slam.
Right. So the significance to me, obviously, it's the first place that we opened. And yeah, I mean, the memories are there. Like back and forth in that door, and I could still see it right now. Like just
the white edging.
It was white. Our building is gray, red, and
black.
A little bit white on the ceiling. But when that door just stood out to you, it looked more like something you'd see at an art studio. Just old kind of farm style wooden door with some single glass pane. And it would close and it would slam twice. It would slam and then the mechanism would pull it out again and it'd slam again. And it's just kind of like
character.
Yeah, that's so much character. We had to change it because they broke in, and we're like, all right, we got to get a safer door. So we got now it's a standard aluminum front door, but we couldn't keep the door because to take it out, the mechanism was so like attached to it. The guys are like, I can't save the door because I asked them to save the door. But I got the key. So it opened that door, and hindsight foresight. We opened a lot of doors now.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for bringing that in and sharing that. We're going to take a quick break, but I want to go into sort of what you guys do, what you guys offer, all about domestic barbecue. But let's take a quick break.
Sometimes even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh,
their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back. Before the break, you're sharing the items that you brought. Thank you for sharing that. When we come back from the break, we like to ask questions from this deck of cards called Icebreakers. And it's just a fun way for the audience to get to know us a little bit better. And I'll be answering it also. So here we go. What's a skill you learned when you were young that you still use today?
Typing.
Typing. Oh,
I remember typewriters.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, my gosh. The back button to delete. Or when you would have to go up, white out. Typing. That's actually still a skill I remember till this day.
Did you have it where like the keys would kick up
yes.
first? And then did you have an IBM?
I don't remember. It was this gray one. Literally, I remember the backspace. Mm-hmm. And once I would run out of the cartridge to delete an error.
Oh, yes.
Yes, there was no spell check back then.
It was like whiteout or something. It was like a
yes.
white tape.
And then I would white it out. And then wait a few seconds, start typing again. And sometimes it would measure right on the spot. Other times it was off slightly. But typing, I still use that skill today.
Awesome.
That is so crazy.
And that skill, like, no one tells you at that age, like, oh, you're really going to need this growing up. But man,
yeah,
if you're like, this, you're really struggling.
I know.
In this age, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Chicken butchery.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I think I was probably 10 or 11 when I butchered my first whole chicken, because obviously it's cheaper to buy a whole chicken than to buy it in parts. And my dad being a butcher, he's like, I'm going to show all of you how to cut a chicken up the right way and do it for your mom whenever she asks you. Because when chicken soup was on the menu, defrost the chicken and have it butchered before I get home. That was the rule. So if I saw a chicken in the sink, I'd cut it up into pieces every time. Yeah.
That's awesome. have you seen that video on social media where that dude is like, there's no wasted cuts?
I still aspire to that. I mean, I'm very close, but yeah, it's sharp knife.
Yeah, his knife's got to be super sharp.
And you have to know, I mean, I know where everything's at, so I think I'm pretty close to doing that. I think we're going to do a video. It's a challenge.
That would be good. We actually challenge each other. Butchering.
All day. We race.
All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I totally want to learn.
Oh my gosh.
I want to, my wife has processed about 25 deer.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah. She didn't kill all those. She helped because she wanted to learn.
Right.
But I was like, what an experience, right? To be able to do that. Like, I really want that skill. I think that skill is like to process a large animal.
Right.
Right.
I've done the small ones. My dad, for special occasions when we were younger, we'd get goats and they were live. It's a joke. I mean, was it George Lopez? He's like, is that a goat, a pet, or are you going to eat that? We ate them. So we'd have the goats tied up to a tree or something. And then my brother and I, at different times, we each had to take it out. So, or put them down. And we learned that way. My dad he worked for Vons for 30 plus years. But before that in Mexico, that's all he did. He worked in ranches and first tending goats, tending steer, and then processing them. When he first got to the States, lived in Chicago, big butcher factories out there, got to California and started butchering. It's crazy. The stuff he knows is crazy.
It's amazing to know where your food comes from.
Exactly.
Not only that, but you honor the animal. When you know how to butcher it, you honor the animal, you do right by it, because at the end of the day, someone gave its life for us to be able to consume. So it's amazing that your wife does that.
Right. A wild animal too. It lends itself so much to processing it yourself because it's a lot leaner. So there's not so much intramuscular fat. There's intramuscular fat. So you follow seams and follow joints, and you can get some really prime cuts out of deer. Deer is delicious.
Yeah, a lot of people have a misconception about hunters of all kinds, fishermen too. Like, I think, of course, there's bad ones out there, but for the most part, every single one that I've encountered, they have a deep reverence for what has happened. And most would cry the first time that they've actually taken this animal's life, like a large animal that it can look at you and looks like it has feelings.
They understand it. They understand what they're doing. Yeah. A lot of people who don't understand what they're doing, they think it's like a sport kind of thing. It's to sustain yourself. So it's really different when you're hunting for sport versus when you're hunting for consumption. And like you said, I know a lot of people who hunt and they wept when they first took down an animal. I mean, because they're in their natural habitat, they're living their life, and you're putting it down, but you're doing it for something that you're gonna pay respect to it afterwards. So
yeah, for sure. Have you guys ever got attacked by some protesters, like vegan protesters?
No,
we've had some at our second location. We've had some people kind of shake their finger at us, like, shame on you. But we do offer a lot of vegetarian. We have a vegan option. We have a lot of vegetarian options. But I think getting our story out there and seeing who we are and what we're about, we're not just running through stuff. We're really focusing on the product we're putting out and the quality of it, and we source everything, natural product. We don't do, mass produced stuff. So
we fabricate all our meat in house. We make everything from scratch. So for us, it's really honoring the food, making sure that everything that's going out to the guest at the end of the day is something that we have made with our hands.
And that we're proud to serve, right? I mean, there's not a dish that we put out that we wouldn't stand behind. And that's the great thing about owning a restaurant. When it's your restaurant, if something's not working out, you change it or you remove it. We want the guests to have the best experience, 100%.
So let's talk about that experience. Like, what is all on the menu? What's the most popular thing? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so on the menu, so we focus on California style barbecue, incorporating a lot of the flavors that we grew up eating, being Hispanic. So our food is very flavorful. It's barbecue. It's still smoked with wood. So it has everything that the forefathers, from Texas, Kansas City, but we made it our own. So it's not necessarily something that you'll find anywhere else. We started trailblazing that back almost close to 10 years ago, really just incorporating our seasoning into our food. For example, one of my favorite dishes is chicken. Chicken isn't very common in a barbecue restaurant. I love chicken. Milton will tell you. He almost clucks like a chicken because I love to eat chicken. So for us, it's just the method on how we actually dry brine it. We smoke it, we deep fry it to get a really crispy skin, and then we add barbecue sauce or no barbecue sauce. Up to you, whether you want to dip, or not. But that's my favorite dish. For me, it's a simple chicken.
Oh man, that's smoked and then deep fried to crisp up the skin.
Yes,
we do that two-step, and like she alluded to, like we pay homage to the forefathers of barbecue, right? We're not trying to be Texas. We never have been trying to be Texas. We're not trying to be Kansas City or anybody, because they wrote the book on it, right? So we're just trying to get another chapter in there.
We're Angelinos,
exactly, and we're proud of it. And when people come in here, come to the restaurant and they're saying like, so what is California barbecue? It's something that can only exist in the melting pot that is California, right? Before we opened, the only California barbecue we had was tri-tip, because it was kind of an off the books cut that they would grill and serve with the salsa. Santa Maria tri-tip was the thing, and that's what we still get when people come in. Oh, so you have tri-tip? Yes, we have tri-tip, but this is what else we have. We have our own flavor blends that kind of represent our culture, number one. Number two, where we're from, which is, California. And it kind of, it beckons to, for people to kind of build their own platters and kind of go through the menu and say, okay, I love chicken, so I'm going to try that. I love brisket, so let's try that brisket. And our brisket is totally different than Texas and Kansas City. Our ribs are different. It has a very unique flavor, but when you see it on the plate, it's very comforting because it's kind of mirroring what you see in the southern parts of the United States. But we do our best to kind of make it stand out with our sauces, our dry rubs, everything.
Is it so you're still like low and slow over like
Absolutely.
indirect heat? Even the tri-tip, you're smoking it. You're not
smoking
grilling it. Awesome.
And we do our best to implement so many different cooking methods. So the low and slow is the predominant cooking method, but we also, like we mentioned, we drop the chicken in the fryer. Then some of the things we put on the grill, some of the things we put in the oven. It's just adding a couple of small things, getting better and better every time that we do, that we serve. It's what we make our barbecue stand out with. It's
like one of the items, for example, our sides, they're all made to order. That's not typical.
Your sides are made to order.
Made
Absolutely.
to order.
What are the sides?
So we have bacon mac and cheese.
Bacon mac and cheese made
classic.
to order?
Yes.
Made to order.
We fire
So-
it. When you order it, it's not in a steam table. We're not holding it anywhere. We have a pan. We have the bacon. We have a bechamel.
We have cheese, 4-cheese blend. We add the pasta. It's made to order. We have collard greens. I love our collard greens. We have Cajun rice, very flavorful. Play on dirty rice. We call
The
it Cajun
reason we don't
rice.
call it dirty rice is because it's not made with chicken livers. It's made with ground beef, something
Ground
more
chuck.
approachable, ground chuck. And it's another process, sear the beef, sear the aromatics, add the rice, add this, and it's just building layers. It's not ready to go.
Yeah.
So that's what we pride ourselves in. It's having these sides that they're not just sitting there all day. You order them, we fire them.
What's the most popular item at your restaurants?
Brisket, 100%.
The brisket. And is it the flavor is built in, or is it with the sauces?
The flavor is built in. I think we get more. So we have a sandwich version that's sauced automatically, unless you say you don't want sauce. And then our brisket by the pound or by the half pound, no sauce. So.
And how many hours is that smoked for?
That's on average about 14.
14.
Yes.
And you're doing this every day?
Every day.
And how many briskets are you going through in a week?
Jesus.
We probably go through about
40?
40 briskets in a week.
Yeah.
And
she was going to say 7 cases for like about 40 briskets.
how much wood is that?
So today we got shorted on our wood.
Wood shortage.
Yes. So we're probably going through about
A cord a week?
A quart a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
It's definitely intensive. It's definitely labor of love, and yeah, it's
we enjoy
you're bringing
doing
these
it.
numbers up to me. It's like,
I know.
Jesus,
We're thinking about it.
how do we go through all that? Because there's got to be somebody
Crazy.
fabricating. There's got to be somebody seasoning it, and it's us.
Wow. Well, I mean, going through that kind of numbers is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, if there's one thing that you can go back and do differently, what would that be?
You know what? We were actually having this conversation in the car today.
That's a really tough question.
So for me, it would be to have someone else that can do exactly everything I do. Milton is better at delegating tasks than I am. I am a very type A personality where I like to do everything myself. That's a downfall, especially in the restaurant industry, because I've kind of had to learn how to start letting certain things go, where now I'm teaching people how to fabricate meat, where before I would just do it all myself. And it got to the point where I'm like, oh, my shoulder's swollen today. You know, I can't do this. Can you come in and help me? And then go open your location because, you know, my body's aching. So for me, I'm getting better at it, but it would be training someone to be able to do exactly what I do. Because we're owner operators. So we're in the restaurant. We place our orders. We fabricate our meat. We work the line with our team. And then aside from that, we have all the administrative portion about it that comes along with it. So that's one where I'm learning how to get better. But for me, it's automatically that. And it's just based on my personality style, because I always want to have my hand in the sink, you know, doing everything. And there's times where I'm like, it's okay if you don't do it, because they know what they're doing. And not only that, I've had to learn that's how you build a really strong team that can actually get things done without you there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sign of a great leader is when things can operate well when you're gone.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree with her response 100%. I think we could do better at training and letting go a little bit more, because our plates, they don't, you know, your plate, usually you clean your plate and then you move on. For us, their plates get fuller and fuller, and it's like a never-ending battle sometimes, where we're behind on admin, or we're behind on this, or we're behind on that, and then it's just more hours that we put in. So like she said, just getting somebody to do what I can do, to kind of step away a little bit. That's what I would have done I should have done from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Now we're getting better at it.
Yes.
Where we can tap into our staff and say, hey, you know, help me out with this, help me out with that. And for me, the day-to-day has gotten a little bit easier, just being able to delegate and train them and show them and find the right people too. That's another big caveat, because you can train somebody all you want, but if they're not the right person, they're not going to stay there. So we're fortunate enough that our staff, I mean, I don't think we have anybody that's been around less than a couple years. So, and that's a testament to this industry, because the turnover is insane. And you got somebody that you don't give them a day off for a concert or something, and they're gone. You know, and we're lucky enough that our staff sees that we're side by side with them, and they know how much we work, and they respect it. So, and that's all we look for. You know, you respect me, I respect you, respect my time, I respect your time. Tell me when you can work, and that's when I'll schedule you. Tell me when you can't work, and I won't schedule you. And it's very easy. We've gone by that mantra, where we respect everybody's time, everybody's ability, and then we help each other grow. We learn from our employees. Our employees give us feedback as managers and as obviously cooks, and what we do all on a day-to-day basis. So like she mentioned, just being able to train somebody to do some of the things that we do, the nuanced things, the touch, the feel, the smell, the taste. I think we could have done a better job at that from the get-go.
And it's funny because sometimes our team will say, well, what temp do I need for, to make sure that this is done? I'll pick up tongs. It's done.
Or
and they're like,
how much salt? How much time? I go, it's cooking.
Gonna vary.
Cooking is intuitive.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a palate, you can have timing. I'd rather have a palate and timing than a recipe, because at the end of the day, the food needs to taste good. A recipe is going to give you a guide, but you follow a recipe, she can make it, I can make it, it's totally different. Somebody else can make it, it's totally horrible. So intuition is one of the things that you can't train. You gotta be able to identify it as a manager. So, I mean, it's crazy when we have the same process for the same ingredients, and then have 3 people make the same thing, and you have 3 different taste profiles, and they did exactly the same thing. It's
using
insane.
a recipe,
using, following the directions, and it's so crazy.
Yeah, but that's definitely been one of the biggest opportunities I think we've had, but we're learning how to right size that,
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're going to move on to the final segment of this show where we get to learn where you guys like to eat in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah.
So this is what we call the SGV3, and we get to hear from you what your favorite restaurants, eateries, places to get great food in the San Gabriel Valley is. So who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I absolutely love a pizza place called Pie Trap. Really great pizza. That's probably our every Monday night dinner. Nectorious Pep. That's our go-to. So I'm actually lactose.
Pie Trap.
Pie Trap in Covina.
In Covina, okay.
In Covina. Great pizza.
So you're lactose intolerant, but you have this every Monday.
Yes.
She suffers through it.
I will suffer.
I thought you were going to say they offer like a lactose free pizza.
No.
I will suffer.
It is worth the pain.
Yes. But what's worth, here's kind of the funny thing. Notice how I'm staying on the dairy base, because my second favorite place is 626. 626 Hospitality Ice Cream.
Okay, more dairy.
More dairy. But the great part is they actually offer non-dairy options as well. However, their black sesame, worth the pain. Oh my goodness, amazing. It's such a cool space to go into. My daughter, my nieces, yesterday my niece, we celebrated her 18th birthday, and she goes, Thea, it's time to go get some 626. And I'm like, let's do it. It'll be a date night. We love going there. It's just such a cool spot to go into. Great ice cream. The ambiance is really chill. It's vibing. The music. It's just a really good space to be able to decompress. And same thing, my daughter, she's like, Mommy, can we go to 626? And it's not close to us because it's about a 25-minute drive.
Oh.
It's in Arcadia. We live in Covina, but you can imagine that 5:30 to 10 rush hour.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, but amazing place. And then my third is called Baja Urban. So it's in La Puente. You'll find me there typically on Fridays because I work from morning to night. That's my lunch spot. Every Friday I'll go and I just rotate around their menu. So they have chile verde tacos. I love. Sometimes I just order a side of beans and some chips. Everything that they make is amazing. They have a tostada ahogada. It has potato taco. Yes, it has dairy in it. Cheese. I know. There's certain places I'm like, it is what it is. I'll just do it. Potato taco. It has carnitas on top and an ahogada salsa with the fixings. Amazing. That, their chile verde and their campechana. That's like my all-time go-to. And I tend to just rotate those. One week I'll do one item. The next week I'll do another item. But those are my 3 go-to spots for the San Gabriel Valley.
And I love all 3 too. But I had to go old school, 2 childhood memories. And it was really hard because there's so many places that I remember as a kid. But I think the first one I got to mention, it's just a small burger stand. There's a ton of them in the SGV. But it hits to home. It's Nick's Burgers, Arden and Valley.
Nick's. Okay.
Chili fries, pastrami sandwich, cheeseburger. It's just a taste of childhood. I mean, if I were to go to a burger joint for a burger, I would go there just because I grew up down the street. That was our luxury meal as kids, and when we saved up enough money, we'd go down there for the burgers. So that spot, Petrillo's Pizza. I mean, they've been around forever. I mean, I don't know how long they've been open, but I know when I was a kid, they already 20 plus years. So I think they're hitting 40, 50 now. Petrillo's special, thick crust, loaded toppings, great sauce, great. They use real cheese. Can't go wrong with that. And something newer to the SGV, Progress Brewing on Chico, old school. One of the first breweries in the SGV.
Craft breweries.
Yeah.
Progress.
Progress Brewing. They have 2 locations, I think now. One in the Valley Mall, but the original is on Chico. And
such great memories there, actually.
I mean, we first opened the restaurant and we were on a craft beer hunt. We wanted to find local guys, and come to find out, a lot of breweries don't make so much beer like you would anticipate, so they would not part ways with their beer. You had to consume it there. So that's one of the early brewers we found, and I mean, Wolverine, and they had so many great beers.
We would go. We
and then
would
the
take
food
out
trucks.
Do you remember pulling out the seats from Manny's car?
We had a friend who had a Suburban with detachable seats, and they were jam packed. And we're like, "Oh, there's no seating. We gotta stand out here." So like, don't worry about it. And he pulled his seats out of his car, and we're just rocking back and forth on his truck seats. Yeah. So
Those are
Progress
good memories.
Brewing, Petrillo's, and Nick's Burgers.
Awesome. Yeah. Those are all sound really good. Thanks for sharing those.
They're definitely worth a visit for sure. And then the ones Erika mentioned too.
I mean, you can't go wrong. Pizza. You
Mariscos.
got mariscos and ice cream.
And the thing about Erika's spots is we've been there many times, and they're just great people.
Yeah. That is one of the biggest things is Baja Urban is located in La Puente. The owners, Iris and Lalo, amazing people.
Family owned and operated.
Yes. You say, hey, Lalo, he'll call you. I'm going to downtown LA. Did you need anything? Amazing person.
So helpful.
626, Amber and Waldo. Love them to death. Waldo and Amber, whenever we go to an industry event together, the irony, Waldo is actually lactose too. And he creates all the ice cream.
And he's a chemist.
They will take me non-dairy ice cream, even though they're not serving it. They are amazing people. Their Pandam, super good. It's actually vegan. Really, really good. And they'll always be like, hey, we thought about you. And they literally do, because they know I'm lactose, and they're like, here you go. Last time I messaged them and I was just like, oh, that black sesame is amazing. Amazing. And they told me, did you have a lactate? I'm like, no, it's okay though.
She survived.
I'll be fine. And then Pie Trap, we love going there. You know, our daughter, you ask her, hey, where do you want to go get pizza? She will tell you right away. Pie Trap. She'll call it in, and she never calls in her order. We just love the pizza. The crust is amazing. And not only that, the brothers, they're also really awesome people too.
Down to earth guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's attached right next door to a brewery. So, you know, when we pick up and go, yeah, we'll have a few beers
while
there.
You're waiting. It's just such a great opportunity, or, you know, we get to meet people in the industry and bounce off ideas, but not only that, struggles between each other, especially like local people. Like she mentioned, Baja Urban in La Puente, and then Pie Trap in Covina, and it's just like we're in the same neighborhood, so we see the same struggles, see the same ups and downs, and we're able to discuss that. And like, you know, what is it? Okay, well, we don't know. We're trying to figure it out too. So having that brotherhood,
sense of community,
and the community that we have, it's really helpful during the hard times, because there's a lot of hard times in this industry. They get outshined by the great times, but the hard times, you're in the trenches, you're just grinding it out, and it's nice to feel like a brotherhood, like you're along. Somebody else is going through what you're going through, and they're going to make it out just like you are. So it's just great. They're great people.
I just went to 66 for the first time. I had heard of them and I'd seen them on social media. No, actually, I did try them in 2020 before they even had a brick and mortar.
Okay.
Someone had offered the ice cream to us and said, "Oh, my friend Waldo makes this." So I'm in line, right? And this woman is just looking at me. It's clear she recognizes me, but I don't know what's going on, right? And then because she's not in line, she's just sitting on the side. I was like, "That's got to be Amber, right?"
Oh.
So I go up to her and I was like, "Oh, my name's Russell. Are you the owner?" She's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "You look so familiar." So I knew they're going to be on the show. They're going to be on the show.
Oh, very
they're
awesome.
Great. They're great
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, they're amazing. And I love Amber's vibe because Amber is so down to earth. She's just such an amazing
high energy, and then Waldo's super mellow, but also very down to earth. Great people.
Yeah, they're
really good people.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming today and being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
If people want to check out your food, your restaurant, or check you out on social media, what's the best way to do that?
So our Instagram is at domestic_barbecue for our original La Puente location. And then for our Covina location, it's at domestic_barbecue_Covina. So just a little Covina
I don't know why
portion.
we made two, but we made two.
Yeah, but we're there. One location is open out of both 7 days a week, so we'll always be available. Milton runs our Covina location, and I run our original location, which is our La Puente location. If you guys do swing on by, just please say hi. We're always there in the kitchen.
Tell us you saw us on this podcast, please. That would mean a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
please
Awesome.
do.
Well, thank you again for coming today. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad I got to learn your guys' story. Thank you
so much.
Well, there you go. Another episode in the books for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I always like talking food, but more than that, I especially love to learn the journey of people. And, here, not every journey in the restaurant business is the same, right? And everybody has their own different path. And what's cool about this story is just what's possible, right? To be able to have this opportunity and then go through this struggle and still make it and succeed and come out, nearly 10 years later. It's a really amazing story. So I hope you guys go and check them out. Domestic BBQ, La Puente and Covina, West Covina. Well, if you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit that like and share button. And if you want to see our full catalog of episodes, check out our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice matter. No, kind of matter.